What does it mean for a game to die? Is it when its interest graph peaks and then goes down like this? Or is a game's death more of a feeling or a community consensus? This is what I want to explore today, so sit back, grab a snack, and let's explore why Clash Royale will never die. Let me start by showing you what the interest graph looks like for Clash Royale. As you can see, the graph has a very high peak that occurred in March of 2016, only a couple of months after the game's global launch. This is pretty standard for any game of Clash Royale's size, and this effect was even stronger since Supercell already had an amazing track record with games like Clash of Clans and Boom Beach at the time. By the end of 2018, interest in the game had declined to only 20% of what it was at its peak, and we can see that interest has generally stabilized since then. Now, I want to address the elephant in the room as quickly as I can. Clash Royale has become a pay-to-win game. This is no secret, and anyone who plays the game even at a casual level has most likely seen the transition from a very free-to-play friendly game where things like legendary cards were extremely exciting to unlock and felt very special to the current day where getting a legendary card is practically a daily occurrence and doesn't do much, if anything, to help you out in your games. This effect is best illustrated, though, with the progression from only gems and shop offers to the beloved original Pass Royale that provided an insane amount of value for only $4.99 to today where the newest and most powerful cards, card evolutions, are largely locked behind an $11.99 paywall that provides even less value than the original Pass Royale did at $4.99. It is also worth mentioning that Supercell even rolled out a second evolution slot exclusively for players of King Tower level 15, the highest in the game, or higher, further cementing their pay-to-win plans for the game, since a second evolution being locked behind such a lofty achievement grants those people who spend money on the game an extremely important advantage. By now you must be wondering if I mistitled the video since I'm only bashing on the game and not talking about any of its strengths, but I assure you that this game will never die. Even with everything I've mentioned so far, Clash Royale has many strong points and a lot of untapped potential that will support the game and propel it long into the future. The first pillar that is holding this game up and stretching out its relevancy is card evolutions. Yes, the very thing that many people in the community complain about is actually one of the game's strongest features. Card evolutions are marketed as upgrades to the cards in the game that we know and love, but really they are a sneaky way to add a ton of new cards and mechanics to the game without having to get too creative or oversaturate the already massive collection of cards in the game. Think about it, Supercell is rolling out 1 to 2 new evolutions per month and there are currently 111 cards in the game, with only 17 evolutions done so far. It is possible that the 6 champions in the game will not get evolutions of their own due to the nature of those cards, but even if that ends up being the case, that still leaves us with 88 more evolutions getting added to the game. Assuming Supercell ramps up the pace and releases 2 evolutions per month every month starting next month in June, it will take them 44 months or just over 3.5 years to finish releasing all of the evolutions. If they decide to do just 1 a month like they typically have been so far, it will take them 88 months or just over 7 years. To put that into perspective, that means that just this gimmick alone could very likely take until the year 2031 to fizzle out. I mention all of this to prove a point. Every time Supercell releases a new card evolution, everyone is very eager to see what it does and try it out for themselves. At the start of each season, Supercell essentially creates an irresistible curiosity and desire to play the new feature in the game, very similar to the feeling that comes when a new card is released in the game. As a result, they've effectively solved the issue of too many cards and not enough ideas, since they now have up to 7 years of time to just keep reinventing already existing cards and still getting the same community reaction and likely revenue that would come with the release of a new card. None of this is even to mention the also recent addition of tower troops into the game, of which they could still add several more over the next few years as well. Both of these mechanics add fresh new gameplay to the game and get people excited about it. I have personally seen several people come back to the game even after sometimes multiple years of inactivity simply to try out all of the new shiny features the game now has to offer. If Clash Royale were a stock, I would be investing in it because the game is all but guaranteed to see continued success and a strong player base for years and even decades to come. Player base. That brings me to perhaps the biggest objection you might have to all of this, which is that Supercell is alienating their player base by making it impossible to viably play the game without spending money. While this is definitely true, and I don't personally support how heavily Supercell is monetizing their game nowadays, I really can't blame them. They've developed a perfect system in their game where the millions of monthly users of the app are now nearly all forced to consider spending at least some money on the game or find another game to play. Now that is where Supercell is winning though, because Clash Royale is a very unique game. There really aren't any other games out there that have the same gameplay or concept as Clash Royale paired with the high level of quality that Supercell always brings. Most players that leave the game inevitably come back, whether it's to get a hit of nostalgia or out of sheer curiosity after hearing about all of the new and innovative features being added to the game in the past year or two. I myself have gotten angry at the game or bored of it many times, but ultimately I always find myself coming back. Supercell knows that they have the high ground with this game still, and although the player base has been declining a bit since 2020, their revenue has actually increased a bit over the same time frame, which proves the point that they are just squeezing more money out of the players that they are able to keep around. Even still, 50 million downloads in 2022 alone, with similar numbers in 2023 and 2024 so far, is not too shabby at all. I definitely wouldn't consider a game with around 4 million monthly downloads dead by any means, and I don't think anyone who really thinks about it would either. When asking ourselves if a particular game is dead or not, I think it is important to consider not only the game's present state, specifically how many people actually play the game on a regular basis, but also to consider the game's future and potential for more iterations and new updates. The core structure of Clash Royale as a game lends itself to seemingly unlimited possibilities for upgrades, improvements, future updates, and new content. While problems like too many cards being in the game and the game being too pay to win are definitely there, Supercell has found a way time and time again to circumvent these problems and find a way to continue on. To expand on the stock market analogy, I think one of the most important factors when picking a company to invest in is how well that company recovers, not if, but when hard times come. For example, if you've ever taken a look at Apple stock, you will see that even after heavy dips, the stock always comes back stronger than before. Supercell is perhaps one of the greatest examples of a company that, despite their flaws, manages to consistently push out polished and exciting products that attract a large and high-quality audience, which is a very important trait for a mobile gaming company to have. Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, and Brawl Stars are Supercell's main three games that have all stood the test of time and continued to generate exceptional revenue for the company year after year. And to be honest, I really don't see this changing anytime soon. Clash of Clans itself has been around for well over a decade at this point, and Supercell has adapted a ton in that game as well, bringing huge new features like the builder base overhaul, clan capital, hero equipment, and more. If I had to give my definition of what a dead game is, I'll be honest, I'm not going to go cliche on you and say that any game with two people to play a match together isn't dead, but that isn't too far off from my actual stance. I would say that any game that consistently has millions of monthly downloads and active users and generates hundreds of millions of dollars a year could never truly be called dead. If these stats were meaningfully declining from year to year, I think we might have a case for why Clash Royale is a dying game, but they really aren't. It seems that almost since 2018, a couple of short years after the game's release, Clash Royale has found a stable player base that really isn't going anywhere. I would argue that even if they take extended breaks from time to time, the vast majority of Clash Royale's current player base is here to stay, and this includes players who are faithfully buying the Pass Royale each and every month because they enjoy the content it offers. As for the free-to-play players that are still playing the game, they have just accepted by this point that they are going to be at a notable disadvantage over their pay-to-win counterparts simply because of the way the game is being run. Clash Royale is a seemingly untouchable game that, in my opinion, will survive very far into the future and continue to maintain a strong and active community for better or for worse. What do you think though? Be sure to leave a comment down below with your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of my future videos.